Yeah, we're about to get some today, that's for sure. Yeah, we had some decent amount of cloud cover earlier, and now it looks like it's all blowing off and blowing away. I don't know. At least we have some action down here, some clouds down here, so maybe we can just include that little sliver of cloud in our composition. Whew, I don't know. These waves are kind of big. I'm kind of scared to approach the scene almost. We'll give it a shot. As you guys can tell, I'm using the Nikon. Let's see, the Nikon. Because there ain't no way I'm subjecting my Alpha 1 Mark II to these conditions. That's why it's nice to have a throwaway camera like the Nikon. I was thinking about using the 14mm, but if these clouds continue to disappear, then I might be forced to use maybe the 20mm or the 24mm. I didn't bring my 16-35 on this trip because I'm actually primarily here to shoot astro. So I'm just have to make do with my prime lenses for seascape photography, which should be okay, but yeah, I don't know. We'll just kind of give it a whirl and see what happens. So when it comes to seascape photography, I kind of look at it in two ways. You need kind of two things to come together to make a good seascape shot. Number one, you need a nice sky. You need good light, good clouds. And number two is you need good water flow. But there are many variety of factors that can impact the quality of water flow that you get in your seascape shot. And on this particular day, the factor that's impacting our water flow the most is the swell height. And that's what I kind of wanted to talk about today, is as a seascape photographer, we should always be paying attention to swell height and seeing how, holy smokes, seeing how all of the swells that go on in Mother Nature impact our photography and our seascape photography in particular. So when we typically visit the Big Island, it's usually during Milky Way season because Mauna Kea, of course, is the best spot to do astrophotography and Milky Way photography. But the problem with visiting during the summer, at least for seascape photography, is that all the good seascape spots are in the wrong place for the swells that happen during the summer. Now, if you're unfamiliar with what type of swell activity happens here in the islands during the summertime, it's usually the southern shore swells. It's usually when people like to go to Waikiki because that's where the waves are at. And typically areas like the North Shore and the West Coast, where we're at right now, are usually pretty flat. And usually that's not a problem because most of the drains that we shoot here are kind of these smaller, more contained drains where you're primarily looking for just the water to rise just ever so slightly and drop back down. You're not really looking for a whole lot of big wave energy. But this particular drain is so big and so massive that you kind of need that big wave energy. And that's why the most optimal time, I think, to shoot this particular drain is when there's a North Shore swell or a Western Shore swell, and that typically happens during the winter time. So the last time we visited this drain, we got some pretty epic sky conditions. But what wasn't that great on that particular day was the water flow. The water flow was pretty weak, to say the least. And the reason for that weak water flow was the swell height. We're out here today in January, so it's peak winter swell season. Although it's not a huge, massive swell that we're getting right now, we're not talking like 10 to 15 feet, up to 20 feet plus, like how they have on the North Shore of Oahu when they have the Eddie Aikau surfing events and stuff, and all those big wave surfing events. We're not talking about anything that crazy, but we are getting waves at around 4 to 6 feet right now today, and that's more than enough to get quality water flow here at this particular drain. I mean, just check it out. I mean, just look at the waves that are crashing in. Sometimes these things are looking pretty scary. I hope you get the idea. I hope you can tell, if you watched that video in July, I hope you can tell that the waves are significantly bigger today than that particular day. Yeah, I think we're definitely asking for trouble by standing in this particular spot, but until I get splashed by a big enough wave, I think we should be okay. I just need to time it right. Hopefully the waves aren't gonna get too big before the sun sets. So yeah, your swell is definitely going to determine what you can and cannot shoot when it comes to seascape photography. Like if we were to go to the smaller drains today, this would be an absolute wash because yeah, like there's no way we would just get wiped out and washed out, similarly to how we have done when we've shot the drains closer to wintertime in the past. But woo! But on a day like today, with this particular composition, it works perfectly because the water flow is just big enough to create good water flow and not crazy big that it tries to kill us at the same time. But yeah, your swell height and your wave height is definitely going to dictate what particular composition you're going to shoot. So really, when you do seascape photography, you always have to ask yourself, how much water flow do I need for this composition to come to life? For this particular day, I knew I needed more water flow than what we got last time, and that's why we're back here today. But that might look different depending on your particular composition. Again, if I was shooting the smaller drains, this type of swell would not work well at all. But there are other factors to consider aside from the wave size and the swell height. Oh, that looks like a massive wave coming in right now. We might get destroyed with this wave. I'm a little nervous. Oh, smokes. That's nuts. That was a big one. We got hit from the side, but not too bad. You got hit the most, actually, I think. Woo. That was a nice wave. I need a wave like that to happen during sunset and when the sky is going off. Thankfully, there are some clouds that ended up rolling back in, so we should, hopefully, if these clouds hold, be in for a good treat. But yeah, swell size and wave height isn't the only factor to consider when shooting these waves. You're also going to want to consider the tide height as well. And we always kind of consider the tide height regardless of whether or not we're shooting waves during a big swell or a small swell. If you're shooting, let's say, like at the small drains, for example, if our tide is too high, there isn't going to be enough drop in that tide in the water to give us the nice water flow that we're looking for. But if our tide is too low and we don't have a swell at the same time, then we might not get the water flow high enough to enter our composition. It's nuts, it's going off right now. So it always just depends. Oh shit, I'm getting a little scared now. It always just depends on your composition. The best piece of advice I could give you is to just show up to your particular spot, to a spot that you're interested in shooting in, and to just see how big the waves are at that time and monitor whether or not the tide is going up or going down. And depending on which direction the tide is going, that'll determine whether or not your spot is going to be shootable by the time sunset rolls around. If you're getting waves and the tide is going up, then by all means shoot that composition, because more than likely the waves are just going to get bigger with a rising tide, like how it is today. And then you'll be able to get nice water flow for your composition. But if you're barely getting any waves at your particular spot and the tide is dropping, you can almost guarantee that you're not going to get waves by the time sunset rolls around, because the tide is just going to drop even lower than that. Holy smokes, it's crazy. I thought we were in a little bit of a lull, but now the waves are absolutely kicking off. And yeah, when it comes to swells, a higher tide paired with a bigger swell is going to give you the biggest waves possible. That's how we get king tides. And you know, if you have a low tide but still a big swell, you still could possibly shoot that particular composition because the waves are so gigantic and they're so big. But that's when you can run into trouble when it comes to like safety of yourself and your camera gear, because the low tide might create the illusion that the waves aren't crashing high enough, and when those big swells come in and those big waves roll in, that's when you get caught. Those are the times where you get caught in a bad situation that puts yourself and your camera gear at risk. So if you are going to be shooting a big swell but at a low tide, always keep that in mind, that it's probably not the best idea to get super close to the water, even if it looks safe, because those swells can be deceiving, especially when it's these bigger swells like how we have today. Yeah, these clouds are starting to get interesting. And as this sunset progresses, again, the tide is going to be going up, so the waves should be getting bigger and bigger. Hopefully, they just stay low enough that I'm able to escape here without just getting smacked by a big wave. But more than likely, we probably will get smacked by a big wave, just with our track record. We're experiencing the tail end of a winter storm that came through our islands. Woo! Watch out. And that storm is bringing a lot of winds coming from the south, so the clouds are just constantly moving. But thankfully, they haven't blocked the area on the horizon where it looks like the sun is gonna set, so fingers crossed that doesn't happen. But yeah, that is something to keep in mind. Holy smokes, we're gonna die. We're gonna die today. We're gonna die today. Thank God I have the Nikon. It's always those waves that come up super fast and they sneak up on you. Those are the ones that really get you. If you see it coming, more than likely you're gonna be prepared for it. But it's like, when you can't see it, that's the ones that damage you. And what I'm doing right now is something you should never do, which is face away from the ocean. I think I've mentioned before that the Opihi Man song is very similar to seascape photography. You keep your eye on the wave, don't never turn your back, and I'm kind of at a 90-degree angle so I can kind of look at you and also look at the waves. But man, is it scary. It really is scary shooting these waves. Plot twist. I think I'm actually gonna shoot this composition horizontally because, let me show you. Just shooting that, forget this stuff. Just shoot that, that's the foreground, and then get all this sky in the background. And I think the horizontal composition does it best because what I kind of wanted to do, I can't really get closer than where I'm at right now. I feel like that's really asking for it. But you've got this water flow, strong water flow happening on the right side. And then your sunset, our sunset is slightly off to the left. So I'm thinking if we can create that visual tension between the two, water flow here, maybe some water flow here, but sunset there, I think that's gonna work as a better composition than just trying to do it vertically. Just gets rid of a whole bunch of this nothingness that's happening right now. There's no water flow that's happening right there. All the action is up against that back wall. The waves kind of come in like this, whoop, and then come in this way, hit this wall, and the energy ricochets and hits that wall, and then that's what creates all the cascades and stuff. So that's kind of what I'm going for. Typically, I'm shooting these sunsets vertically, or these seascape shots vertically, because I like to have like a nice leading composition. But on this particular day, I don't think it's gonna work. But man, I think I should set up a time lapse, don't you think? Look at this. We have 20 minutes. If I set up a time lapse, will I be screwed? I'm not gonna use my Alpha 1, I'm gonna use my ZVE1, but yeah, it looks like you can get some nice stuff happening. Let me set up a time lapse real quick. But yeah, these clouds are showing a lot of promise. So I set up my time lapse back there, just literally time lapsing on the rock wall. It's literally just shooting the sky, nothing else. Because yeah, like this sky is showing us a lot of potential. I really hope that we can time it right with the waves, because what happened last time was we got a nice beautiful sky, but the waves didn't happen when that sky was at its best. But hopefully today, with the bigger swell, bigger waves, we'll be able to get something better than what we got last time. But holy smokes, this is looking like it's gonna come together nicely. Hopefully, fingers crossed. I've been doing so much wildlife photography as of late that I forgot how fun seascape photography really is. Like, it's super, super dangerous. I mean, I'm risking all my camera gear right now, but man, forget how nice these sunsets are when the clouds roll in. It's one thing looking back at it on the images that you took, but it's one thing to stand here and see it in person once again. It's just beautiful. Absolutely incredible. Big wave. Kaboom. You can see the sun starting to creep out from underneath those clouds. Oh man, the anticipation. The anticipation. Woo! Watch out. Oh man, that's crazy. That waterfall was a little nuts there. Here's another one. Woo! Here we go, here we go. I'm happy with these shots, honestly. I mean, the sun isn't actually like set beyond, underneath the clouds, but it's still producing some beautiful light. Maybe it's reflecting off the ocean almost. I don't know. Man, that wave was nice. One more thing that I gotta do. Before the sun comes out, you gotta make sure that your lens is as clean as it possibly can, because if it's not clean, it's gonna show all those streaks when the sun hits it. Woo! Oh, here comes the sun. It's poked its head out. Lens looks pretty clean. Here comes a big wave. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. Oh my God. I'm glad I didn't go chase wildlife today. Holy smokes. Look at that. Look at that sun. Woo. Absolutely incredible. This light is just so intense right now. You guys probably can't even see the shadows in the foregrounds with the waves and all that, because I can't even see it on my camera, only when I look through the viewfinder. Yeah, it's hard to shoot when the sun is out because how high contrast it is right now. But hopefully we get a shot, hopefully we get another shot at shooting this drain when the sun is dipping right below the horizon. That way the dynamic range isn't as harsh, but we still get light, especially up in our clouds. And yeah, once that sun goes down, then the light show is definitely gonna start kicking off. But we were lucky to get one shot just as the sun was coming out from behind the clouds. And we got a nice wave with that too. Yeah, another thing when it comes to like wave height and swells, understand that waves, especially the big ones, comes in sets. So when there's a big wave that comes in, you can expect more to follow that. Usually like anywhere from like 2 to 5 waves in a row is typical, I think, at least for us here in Hawaii. So just be prepared when you see that big one, know that more is coming after that. But then you kind of go through like long phases where the waves don't come at all. So that's when you have to kind of be patient and just wait it out. But yeah, when you're kind of stuck in those low periods, you just gotta know that they're coming, that the set is coming. And you just have to be ready for it. But yeah, as that sun sets, the light is gonna shoot up. That's why we gotta angle the camera a little bit higher in the sky here. Get a little bit more of that light. Come on, waves. We didn't get one. We didn't get a half, we got a half decent one, but we didn't get a real nice wave as the sun was setting. Hopefully we'll get one here. Maybe the last time I got a nice wave, I was filming an iPhone video, so maybe if we get the iPhone out, maybe we'll get a wave here. Uh-oh. There we go. And it's always after the storm where we get these epic sunsets. Woo. Beautiful. right. That was another wave we got there. Pretty good. Yeah, the key is filming some stories with the iPhone, I think. But yeah, I think that's gonna about do it for me here. It's getting really dark, as you can tell. But we're gonna keep shooting, but I don't know if we're gonna get anything different. The sky is kind of starting to fizzle out now, but yeah, this is a good one. Hopefully, the weather report is supposed to be clear for the rest of the trip that we're here, so this is the one and only sunset that I think I'm gonna shoot out here in Kona. But very happy that I was able to come out here and shoot this, because yeah, the light, the conditions, it all came together. Moral of the story, pay attention to your swells, pay attention to your wave heights and your tides. But yeah, thanks so much for watching. If you like this travel, vacation, a little bit of photography education, hit that like button, comment below, subscribe if you aren't already. We'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.